there's a book called Siddhartha, and in this book, Siddhartha is this young guy who's trying to find his own way, trying to come into his own. He tries to. He's a religious guy. He's doing all these religious things, and it just doesn't work for him. So then he moves on, and he's a little bit older in his life, and he becomes like a businessman, and he makes all this money, and he's got all these fine clothes and watches and jewelry, and that's not suitable for him. And then he becomes a fisherman, and then that doesn't work entirely for him. And his whole life, he is seeking to come into his own. He's trying to find ways to come into his own. And by the end of the book, he comes into his own. And one of the ways he comes into his own is that he stops trying to come into his own. And my question to you is, how does a person come into their own? Right? How does an individual go from not knowing who they are to knowing who they are? How does an individual not know what's true for them, and then all of a sudden they come to an understanding of what is true for them? My name is Carter. This is Carter Curricula, and I am on a mission to savor our shared humanity by closely reading poems written by dead American poets. And so the poem that we're taking a look at today is called Into My Own. And the poet that we are taking a look at is Robert Frost, and it comes from this book here, Poems by Robert Frost. It's a Signet classic, A Boy's Will. That's the collection that we're taking a look at. There's another one in here called North of Boston, but we're taking a look specifically at A Boy's Will. A Boy's Will is his first collection of poems. Like his first is it's like him showing the world initially who he is, and he comes out with a poem called Into My Own. Of all poems to start off with, he starts off Into My Own. And so I'm going to be in this whole collection for quite some time. I'm not gonna run too fast through it. I'm at least going to take a look at 10 to 20 poems in this, but I'll try to get to as many as I can. And so Into My Own, I'll read this, I'll break it down for you, and then I'll also have an image of my breakdown posted as well in my posts. Into My Own. One of my wishes is that those dark trees, so old and firm they scarcely show the breeze, were not, as 'twere, the merest mask of gloom, but stretched away unto the edge of doom. I should not be withheld, but that some day into their vastness I should steal away, fearless of ever finding open land or highway where the slow wheel pours the sand. I do not see why I should e'er turn back, or those should not set forth upon my track, to overtake me, who should miss me here, and long to know if still I held them dear. They would not find me changed from him they knew, only more sure of all I thought was true. Wow! He starts this poem off with this great imagery of going into the woods. And this great imagery is also done in iambic pentameter. This is a sonnet, 14 lines, and it's iambic pentameter, and it's all the way through iambic pentameter, so you could hear that rhythm, da dot, da dot, da dot, da dot, da dot, da dot, all the way through. You could hear that rhythm, and you can see in the structure of it. There's 4 lines, there's 4 lines, there's 4 lines, and then the last stanza is 2 lines, and that's when he drives home his point. He also has a rhyme scheme that's A, B, B, C, C, D, D, on and on it goes. It's just couplets, couplet, 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 and he's rhyming these words. He is a skillful poet, and he's got skillful technique, and it's very subtle. In fact, he calls his poem, because people used to trip on him. They thought he was too simple, right? But he says people assume that his simplicity is that of an untutored child, but it's not. It's a very skillful art that he has going on here in his poem, and you could see it all the way through. And like I said, I will post that in the posts. The theme of this poem is go your own way and return, and you'll return more sure of yourself. And again, how do you come into your own? How do you come to a point where you are now understanding who you are and you know what is true to yourself? Well, the way in which you do that is by going your own way. One of the ways of you coming into your own is by going your own way. You go your own way and you find yourself. And that's what Siddhartha did. That's what the great text, The Alchemist, does. Is that even in The Alchemist, the Santiago goes his own way, and as he's going his own way, he's realizing, you know what, this is not it. He's actually going, traveling, and he's going away from himself, and then he returns back home, and then he finds his treasure at home. He finds his treasure because his treasure was already there with him, right? You go your own way and you find yourself, right? And here in this poem, at the very end, he says, they would find me change, not change. They would not find me change from him they knew. Okay, I would be the same guy if I went my own way and returned. But once I get back, rest assured that only more sure of all I thought was true. So I'll just come back and be far more at ease with what I know and who I am. And that's exactly what it means to go into your own. Is that you go away, you go wherever you head, and then you turn back around and come back. And if you ever do return, that you're going to be the same person, but you're going to think differently. You're going to have thoughts that are more certain, feelings that are more certain. You're going to be more secure in who you are. And that security in who you are is something that is unbreakable, unshakable. Into my own. Robert Frost goes into this dark spot, goes into this woods, dark, gloomy. He gets away, and then when he comes back, he's the same guy, but he knows what he knows, and that is the difference in him going before he went and him after he returned. Go your own way. Figure it out. It's scary. Go your own way though, and once you get back, you'll be recognizable, but you will have a peace and a settledness that you did not have prior to going. That's all I have for you on this one. The next time that I'll see you, we will be in a text, a poem by Langston Hughes. So I'm alternating from Robert Frost to Langston Hughes. So next time I see you, we'll be in Langston Hughes, and we'll be considering the passage or the text, "The Negro Speaks of Rivers." I'll see you on the next one.